Are we rising? No, quite the reverse. We're sinking. Worse than that, Mr. Cyrus. We're falling.
With these opening lines in The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne, we soon discover 5 castaways aboard a hijacked hot air balloon to escape a southern prison camp during the American Civil War. The passengers include Cyrus Harding, an engineer in the Union Army, his ex-slave and loyal companion Neb, Gideon Spilett, a journalist, Pencroft, an experienced sailor, and his adopted son Harbert. They are also accompanied by Top, Cyrus's dog. After several days of flying the balloon in a menacing storm, which deteriorates their balloon, they fall on an uncharted island in the Pacific. With Cyrus's extensive knowledge of engineering, the 5 castaways are able to sustain themselves on the island and begin to see themselves as colonists. Realizing they will be on the island for a long time, the castaways decide to make it their own.
Let us give it a name of a great citizen, my friends, a man now engaged in a fight for the unity of the American Republic. Let us call it Lincoln Island.
After naming the island after President Abraham Lincoln, the castaways name many locations on the island in this manner. They establish a home in a cliffside cavern called Granite House. Not only do the residents of Lincoln Island survive, but they live comfortably on the island. They equip Granite House with brick walls, furniture, and even candles made from animal fat. However, the castaways experience strange events while residing on the island.
In the beginning of the novel, Top is trapped underwater by a dugong, a marine mammal. After a brief struggle in the water, Top is launched from the water and the dugong is mysteriously killed, for the colonists are unaware of the cause of the death. On another occasion, a box of equipment appears on the shore of the island. It contains everything the castaways need, but they determine that the items could not have been from a shipwreck due to the selection and organization of the contents of the box. Cyrus is very skeptical of their mysterious luck and help and states,
"There's something here that I can't understand. My sense is that there is a mystery in all these things, which we will no doubt discover one day."
Even though the castaways receive mysterious help, each of the characters contribute their own skills to help survive.
Cyrus is the leader of the group. While preparing for the day, Pencroft asks,
"What shall we be today?"
Gideon Spilett replies,
"Whatever Cyrus pleases."
Cyrus's vast knowledge of mathematics and science leads the group to survival, so they trust his judgment and are willing to do whatever it takes to survive. He shows the castaways how to build structures, make weapons, and tools. Without Cyrus's guidance, the castaways would not have survived for nearly as long as they have.
Gideon Spilett uses his journalism experience to identify various plants and animals found around the island. He is also an experienced hunter, a skill that contributes a great deal of food for the group.
Although Neb was Cyrus's previous slave, he is treated with respect by all of the castaways. He is viewed as an equal. He is very loyal to Cyrus and trusts him with his life. Verne exemplifies this by describing,
"Off he went at once, never thinking to question his orders, for his confidence in the engineer was entire."
When Neb was tasked with preserving the remnants of an animal, Neb cooks for the group and performs many of the domestic chores around their establishment.
Pencroft serves as the group's secondary leader in Cyrus's absence. Pencroft's sailing experience has taken him on many adventures around the world, making him very brave and ready for any challenge faced by the group. He also has past experiences as a carpenter, tailor, gardener, and farmer. These skills are greatly valued among the castaways as they fight for their survival.
Harbert is 15 and curious about the colonized island. He is also a very bright child with a vast knowledge of natural sciences. With this skill, he identifies many animals and plants, including wheat, which they later farm. Harbert becomes close with Cyrus because of their shared love of science and becomes his apprentice.
All of the characters get along. There is no conflict between them. They work together to accomplish projects and contribute their own skills to each task. They each have a different skill to bring to the table.
When Verne was a child, he became obsessed with the idea of travel, as his family owned a boat. He dreamt of going on adventures around the world to explore new places. At the age of 12, Verne decided to go on a voyage of his own. He snuck aboard a ship, the Carolee, which was headed to the Indies. Unfortunately, he was discovered before the ship set sail and was returned to his father. After being reprimanded by his father, Verne promised,
"From now on, I will only travel in my imagination."
Verne went on to write an abundance of novels, starting with 5 Days in a Balloon. All of his novels pertain to the idea of travel and adventure in the genre of science fiction. After writing 54 novels, Mr. Verne became known as the father of science fiction. With such a wild imagination, Verne was able to create things that no one had ever thought of. Many of his fictional fantasies became real. In his novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Captain Nemo traveled to an electronic submarine, which he called the Nautilus, which actually came to be the Alvin in real life. Also, in an 1889 article, Verne mentioned how
Instead of being printed, the Earth Chronicle is every morning spoken to subscribers.
in reality, the first newscast was conducted in 1920, 31 years later. The brilliant Jules Verne also envisioned atmospheric advertisements, which is what we now call skywriting.
In The Mysterious Island, the most common literary device used by Verne is imagery. He frequently uses imagery to describe nature and landscapes like
The lovely waters of the lake shimmered in the solar rays. An enchanting landscape stretched out before them. The black bark of a few enormous fallen trunks stood out against the lush, green carpet covering the ground.
He also uses metaphors like
If there were land to be seen on the horizon, even a single dim shimmering form, the sailor could not have failed to spot it, for nature had furnished the sockets in his skull with nothing less than 2 telescopes.
he also goes very in depth when describing scientific topics in the book. For example, Cyrus must make explosive to remove large amounts of granite rock in order to make their home in a cavern. Verne describes the entire process that Cyrus goes through to produce the explosive with the resources available to him on the island.
This pyritic schist was composed primarily of coal, silica, alumina, and iron sulfide, the latter in excess. Cyrus Harding's task was to isolate the iron sulfide and to transform it into sulfate as rapidly as possible. From this iron sulfate, he could then extract sulfuric acid.
Isaac Asimov, a science fiction author, once said,
What is important is that Verne recognized the necessity of being scientifically correct.
throughout the novel, Verne reiterates a theme of perseverance through difficult times. The castaways consistently face hardships, yet always push through to survive. At one point in the novel, Verne describes Pencroft as
Prepared to become whatever was required, whenever the need arose.
because they adapt easily to situations, the castaways can solve any problem thrown their way. This ultimately leads to their survival, as an anonymous poet once said.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit.